Hi, I'm Dr. Adam Fraser and welcome to this month's newsletter. Now, this month we're going to talk about politics in the workplace because I've been seeing this a lot lately, and the big killer of productivity is not our systems, it's not our lack of innovation, it's politics. Because UK research shows that the average manager spends 1 to 1.5 days dealing with internal politics. Why? Because we're so caught up in the petty stuff. We don't execute, we're not being productive, and also our culture starts to fall apart because it becomes negative. Now, why does politics start? Well, generally, someone does a behaviour and someone else in the team perceives it as having ill intent. So you did this and I bet you did it because of this, and you're trying to get at me and trying to get one over me. We attribute ill intent to behaviours. Now, say our manager pulls us off a project and puts us on another one. We go home and think about it and ruminate, and we sit up all night, and it gets worse and worse and worse. By the time we come back to work the next day, it's this plan to phase you out. You turn to your co-workers, tell them the story, they blow it up as well, and then you've got this separatist faction happening and an unhealthy dynamic. So, how do we stop politics? Well, the number one, actually, there's 3 steps. Number 1 is to have better self-awareness about your own behaviour. The reality is that we show up different to how we think we show up. We may show up thinking we're motivating our team when they perceive it as excessive pressure. Self-awareness is a skill that we need to have. Now, why is there this gap between how we show up and how we think we show up? The reason is we judge our behaviour on our intention. Other people judge our behaviour on our actions. And you can have profoundly good intentions yet be dysfunctional at the same time. So the first step to reducing politics is be more self-aware about how you behave. Constantly think, well, if I do this, how could that be perceived? What could be the impact of that? And even give people permission to call you on certain behaviours you're trying to reduce. Number 1, self-awareness. Number 2 is look for good intent. What I see time and time again is people do something and the other person attributes ill intent straight away. Oh, it's sinister, it's this or it's that. Rather than make this your go-to move, could you make a conscious effort to assume good intent straight off? That will dramatically improve culture in an organisation. The third one is have real conversations. This is the one we struggle with the most. Someone does something, we go away, we talk to others about them, and we never confront them and have the conversation. Now, if you are going to talk to someone about a conflict or offence, there's 2 key things. Number 1, you must use I words, not you words. You don't walk up there and go, you did this, and because of you, and I'm offended, and all this sort of thing. Rather than that, use I words. Steve, the other day in the meeting, when you said that line, I perceived it as meaning this, and it upset me because of this. So that's far less attacking and demanding than you did this, you did this. So use the I words. Here's how I felt. Here's how I perceived it. So that's the first one. But the deeper layer beneath that is asking them about intent. This is a goal technique. So for example, you're in a meeting the other day and someone offends you. And you go up and talk to them. Say it's Barry. And you say, hi Barry, the other day in the meeting when you said my team had to step up and improve their performance, what was your intention behind that comment? What were you trying to achieve by that comment? And Barry says, oh, well, I just, we've got this target we want to hit. I'm really pumped about trying to do it. I was trying to motivate the team and give them direction. And the thing is, I want to give them a bonus at the end of the year. And if they hit that, we can do that. And your response is, Barry, that's a great intention, and I love the fact that you care so much for the team. But when I spoke to the guys afterwards, they felt that meant they weren't stepping up, that they were bludgeoning, that they weren't performing very well. And Barry's response is, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I came across like that, because you're an amazing team, couldn't be happier with you. Let's get the guys together and have a conversation about that so I can square that up. That's very different to Barry, you're too hard on my guys, you don't know how to manage them, and you blah, blah, blah. That's obviously not going to get a good response. So the key things when you talk to someone about conflict is use I words and ask them what is their intention, and then give them an indication of how that comes off. Quick example of how this was used the other day. I was speaking to a school, did a full day workshop with them, talked about intention and behaviour before lunchtime. In the lunch break, the principal comes up to me and says, "Oh my gosh, I just used that technique, it's gold." She said, "I was walking down the hall and there's all this garbage and rubbish and stuff strewn across the corridor." She said, "I went into the room that was next to it, saw the teacher and said, 'Who's put all this stuff out here?' He said, 'I have. I've been asking the maintenance guys for 3 days to take this stuff away. I've taken it in my own hands. I'm doing it. I've dumped it. Now it's their problem.'" And she said, in that moment I thought, and I said to him, "Okay, clearly you're upset and I understand why you are, but what's your intention behind that? Why are you doing this?" And he thought about it. He said, "Well, it's so my students have got more space so I can get ready for them to come back to school so I can do a good job." She said, "Well, that's a beautiful intention. How do you think the maintenance guys are going to look at that? What sort of signal do you think that's going to send? Would that make them feel like they're not doing a good job? We know that they're busy. They're not ignoring you. They've just got a high workload." And she said, in that moment, he just looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Who do I apologise to first?" She said, "No conflict, no aggro. What I pointed out was that while he had a good intention, that behaviour may come off differently. This is a gold technique." So if you want to reduce politics in the workplace, number one, be more self-aware about your own behaviour. Number two is look for good intent. Don't assume that someone has sinister intent. And number three, when you have the real conversation, use I words and ask them, when you said that, what was your intention? It's gold. Practice that technique. Thanks very much. See you next month.